So every week, I cover someone and I normally get, well, who the hell is this asshole? And why the fandom isn't quite as big as it used to be, there's still a lot of different areas, from voice actors to artists to analysts, and there's always a different area if you know where to look for a garbage fire. And as odd as it sounds, I do have some non-bronies who watch How Not to Brony. This week we got someone, if you've watched the show, you either know them or you know of their work. This is Maddie Peters. This is the voice actor of Scootaloo. Yeah, this is not some fandom voice actor, which oddly enough, they only have about 300 followers. It's modest. Hell, I was wondering if I even had this right. Seriously, 340 for an official VA? Anyways, assuming I didn't fuck this up, and that's highly possible, I'll be back next week with a retraction if I did. Here's the main event, so to speak. Maddie Peters. While I'm on the mental health thing, I'm gonna throw this out there. If you're a man and we're not friends, please don't reply to my tweets, etc., unless it's explicitly professional. It's nothing personal, just boundaries. Okay, thank you. Now, one of my friends alerted me to this, saying the voice of Scootaloo had gone full-blown Tumblr.
Burn her like a witch, then kick her from the fandom.
That wasn't the friend. I did some digging and I saw the picture and I thought, well, maybe it's a young kid. Before we really get going on any kind of shitstorm, we were all dumb young kids once. Oh, wait, geez, 22. Well, crap, we've corrected people far younger than that on this show before. Look, Scootaloo is a fun character. I'm sure Miss Peters is normally a nice person, but let's really think about how ignorant this sounds. Imagine if Miss Peters said, hey, I'm going through some medical stuff right now. It would mean a lot to me if black people kept from talking to me unless you know me. That would sound like some bullshit, wouldn't it? Now, from a place of understanding and a place of empathy, something really, truly terrible might have happened to Miss Peters. Your mind could run absolutely wild with horrible, terrible possibilities, and some of you might suggest that's no one's business but Maddie Peters. Well, yeah, but at very best, this tweet is a PR nightmare. Let's say something terrible like this happened and something truly hurtful, illegal, and damaging went down, the kind of thing that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. I'm kinda at a loss why Maddie popped on Twitter. Let's be clear. Of course she can. She has every right in the world to do so. But if she wasn't in that good of a place, and she could have easily have just popped on and said, hey, if anybody needs me, here's an email. And if she was super concerned, she could have made a fresh one. She only has about 400 followers. She could have had a friend manage it for her. There's also a follow-up tweet. Here it is. Maddie Peters. 1. No, I don't hate men. No one is mad at you for being a man. 2. This was about mental health. I'm working through some serious trauma, and right now, replies from you guys make me anxious. I can't control it. 3. I know it's not logical, and I know I can't avoid interactions with men in the world. I was just trying to make Twitter less unnecessarily stressful while I recover. 4. You all seem supportive, so I figured that you could handle me asking a simple favor. Like Miss Peters, with as small as an account as you have, if you couldn't handle talking to men, i.e. half the population, roughly, you really might have been better taking a break. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to try and study WebMD and prove whether Maddie Peters isn't or isn't some kind of man-hating monster. That would be retarded. This boils down to, hey, maybe don't do this. On the other hand, I've seen some of the people that you follow. This is Asaka Jack. I used to be on good terms with Jack until I foolishly informed him that Event Horizon was Puerto Rican and in fact not a Nazi. He's not even white. Jack had a hysterical meltdown, and why I begged and pleaded with the man to hear my reasoning, and to be totally fair, Event Horizon is a giant pain in the ass. A very talented giant pain in the ass, but a pain in the ass nonetheless. I'm gonna hope Maddie is just going through some medical stuff. However, making this public, as Andy Worski would say, is bad optics. And that's about it. Please don't bully or harass Maddie Peters. I sure don't want to come off like John Enner sending rabid fans after show staff. Again, that would be, as they would say, bad optics. But let's move on. I want to share something from Quill Stroke in the Brony fandom from yesterday on Father's Day. Quill Stroke. Happy Father's Day 2018. I know my father is no longer here, but Tonight, I raise a beer in his honor. I love you, Dad. I miss you every day. I'm terribly sorry for your loss, Quill. I think I take Father's Day for granted, and I still have my father. And to know one day this day will become that much heavier, harder to endure, having to take the time to take grief into consideration and turn it into a means by which to honor someone instead of being overwhelmed by what would have to be one of the most painful mental, emotional black holes is a dizzying prospect. I say this without mirth or malice. I am truly sorry, and please hold your head up. You are a wonderful person. Well, that would have been a wonderful place to end the video. Every time I've read that tweet, I break down a little. We have some more time from the land of Lily Orchid, you know who. So last week, Patchwork Heart made this DA post. Let's read this off. Building a bridge. Patchwork Heart. Josh and I have cleaned the air. I sat down with him and Eliora and had a conversation about how we have both been feeling. He apologized for telling people things that weren't true and throwing me under the bus. And I apologized for all the stress and my crusade for revenge caused him and his loved ones. I no longer have any issues with Josh. Do I disagree with his choices on how to handle the videos? Absolutely. But that was his choice to make. I just wanted to be heard and to get an apology. I also apologize to the members of the community that my feud with Josh affected. I've been trying to treat this like a war instead of like two hurt and wounded people scrambling for peace. To those who tried to ruin me, I forgive you. What you did was out of wrath and anger. I understand what it's like to lose yourself in that. I hope you'll come to forgive me for being spiteful over a few misunderstandings. I hope we can get back to making this community safe for abuse survivors and children again. 1. Josh Scorcher does not trust Patchwork Heart as far as he can throw her, and if you've seen Patchwork Heart, even if Josh Scorcher was in shape and still in service, oh boy, that wouldn't be very far at all. 2. This is one of the 2 versions of the story I've heard. Pete cut off Patchwork Heart, and Patchwork Heart showed up with their radio edit in their hand, begging for Josh Scorcher's forgiveness. This isn't Patchwork Heart seeing the light, this is Patchwork Heart after being cast down from Tumblr Valhalla, doing damage control. Now, this first story could be completely wrong. It's also incomplete as fuck. The second story that fills out a lot of the blanks comes off more from outside sources, so here goes. In this version, Patchwork Heart reached out to Josh, they talked it out. Josh, not really being a drama llama, let it go, which in an odd sense, before the ceasefire, Josh didn't simply trust Patchwork Heart, and he also still doesn't now. So, I mean, what's changing is that Patchwork Heart doesn't have the Pete platform anymore and has agreed not to say anything from this point on. Now, the difference in the second story is Pete then cut off Patchwork Heart for daring to make peace with Josh. Now, aesthetically, some reason is simply better than none. But in Pete's case, I mean, cutting people off without a backwards glance is far from unheard of. Now, the story in the second version doesn't stop there. Now, going by this Tumblr post, will Pete podcast with Patchwork Heart as sketchy anymore? That's a no. Now, curiously, Pete still has Patchwork Heart and Sketchy under suggested tags on YouTube. Not the related ones, these are the ones that you can set on your channel. On the other hand, if you go to Pubcrawl Podcast run by Cider still has myself and Goat Jesus in the suggested tags, and Goat and I were both thrown off because of Digi well over 6 months ago. But then again, Pete isn't nearly as lazy as Cider. I love you, Cider. But I have asked you to remove me as a friend of the show if you're not going to have me on the damn thing. I'm not going to be dumb like Vita or Goat Jesus and hope that one day, praying and hoping with all my might that you'll have me back. Just take me down. But yeah, as the second version of this story goes, Sketchy asked about Patchwork Heart and was also plucked from the vine as well. Dear Lily Orchid, would you mind asking Lily Pete about this? I did hear from a third party that I do not wish to speak to. There was a question whether Zane Russell was still around. I don't actually have an answer for that one. It doesn't mean that Zane's been thrown off the reservation as well. And finally, we bring up the last story of the day. This comes from Brony Inspector. Brony Inspector. Jay Moore was banned before KP was even going to the show at Babs. And he knew it. It's why he never even tried to register and hid in the parlor playing Guitar Hero the whole time. Myself. So how did he get banned? Brony Inspector. Flair, con security, told me it was something to do with an incident at EQLA, and after that was pretty much blackballed from all cons, or any that were affiliated with them anyways. That's interesting, because when I spoke to BabsCon, Flair insisted that it would only talk to people involved. I guess Brony Inspector can speak down below whether he was involved in this incident or not. I've talked to Jay Moore about this. I followed up from last week, at least on the weekend. And there seems to be a consensus, correct me if I'm wrong, this whole ball got rolling at EQLA and not BabsCon. I, of my own free will and interest, reached out to BabsCon's Twitter, that's where I was directed to, for Flair Security, who they insisted that only parties involved would be privy to information on this matter. Now, think about that for a moment. KP knew Jay Moore wasn't supposed to be at BabsCon. Now, Jay Moore insists he has no idea what happened at EQLA. But for KP to know Jay Moore wasn't supposed to be there, I mean, she would have to know what it was about, wouldn't she? Assuming that Flair Security was being honest about saying that only people involved would be given information. Now, some of you guys are still paying attention to the BabsCon KP drama. Well, FNGR, does this mean that you owe KP an apology? Maybe. On one hand, KP alerting the staff that Jay Moore wasn't supposed to be there wouldn't have been in the wrong. That is, assuming KP didn't pull strings originally to get Jay Moore bumped and blackballed by Flair security staff, which I'm told EQLA and BabsCon both share, that being Flair. We could spend all day guessing what got Jay Moore kicked from the convention, whether it was an innocent prank of behind-the-scenes politics or something far more serious. BabsCon took place all the way back in March, and the people behind their Twitter insisted they wouldn't be rushed by Jay Moore's friends. I am not one of Jay Moore's friends, guy, so look here, buddy. We're now 3 months later, so you guys might want to give the motherfucker a simple reason why hundreds of his dollars, possibly more, were flushed down the drain without so much as a backwards glance. In the analysis rift run by the Looney Turtle, I recall having to take months and months to get a final ruling on whether someone was cut or not. It was like pulling teeth, but even Eric was able to give reasons why those removals happened in the first place. I keep coming back to why would anyone want to go to BabsCon, and I'm just going to have to add this to the pile of reasons on why that's probably not a good idea. Whether you like Jay Moore or not, and I'll be honest, I don't. No one deserves to lose their time, money, and effort that would go into an event like this, only to be unceremonially shown the door. That's bullshit, and it's bad for you. If you want to see this matter resolved, please consider liking and sharing, or even tweeting this video at BabsCon's official Twitter. I'll be leaving a link down below. The world doesn't need to know, but they could at least tell a brony why he's not on their so-called no-fly list. Thank you.
Aw. UKPKMKK says, I wanna fuck you in the ass right now. Thank you. It's nice to get some appreciation around here. Oh, he followed it up with a comment. Never mind. Just found out you're a girl.
FBI, open up!
Really makes you think.